Hey everybody, this is Russ from Retro Game Core. You may notice something different about my Steam Deck right here. And yes, you guessed it right, I have new analog sticks inside. Now these are Hall sensor sticks, which means that they won't develop stick drift over time. They're using a magnetic connection. And also these are a new version from a company called Gulikit, so these are third-party sticks. But the nice thing about these is they don't require soldering. In fact, they had a previous model where you had to solder them in, and they sent them to me for review and for testing. I never got around to it. I don't actually know how to solder. And so when they said, hey, we want to send out these other ones and they don't require soldering, I said, yeah, sign me up. So I did the mod here in this video. I'm going to walk you through it. To be honest, I don't think it's a necessary mod because it doesn't change the feel of the sticks at all. It's really going to be necessary if you already have stick drift on your device, or if you're just worried about getting it over time, and maybe you just want to have the very best for your Steam Deck. And so it's not an expensive mod, and it's fairly easy to do as well, and we'll knock it out here in this video. There are a couple tricky things, like you have to recalibrate the joysticks. We'll walk you through that as well, but otherwise this is going to be a pretty simple video. And so without any further delay, let's go ahead and dive in. Okay, like I mentioned, this has been sent over to me by Gulikit for review. This is the same company that made the Hall sensor sticks for the Nintendo Switch earlier this year. Anyway, the unboxing here is just super simple. It's really just going to be the sticks inside of a case. And here's a quick look at them. You can see that they are labeled L and R for left and right. Now I think with the older model it didn't come with caps, and so because of that you had to solder on the sensor right here from the top of the joystick. And this is the sensor that knows whether or not you're pushing your thumb onto the thumbstick in order to activate the gyro. In terms of just overall feel, these feel very similar to the Steam Deck ones. I thought those felt very good anyway. And it does have a fluid and smooth movement overall, just like the original sticks. Now before you start taking apart your Steam Deck, there is one thing we need to do on the device while it's still turned on. What you want to do is go into your settings and then go down to the second section called System. From there you want to scroll down pretty darn far till you get to the part that says Steam Deck Controller ID. And what we're looking for here is the code at the front of this number. Mine is MEDA. That means it's going to be the A version of the sticks. If yours says MHDA, that means it's going to be the version B of the sticks. And that will come into play here in a moment when we actually install them. Anyway, once you have that figured out, you can go ahead and shut down your system. And let's take a look at the A and B dichotomy right now. If you look at the back of the board, you'll see there's a toggle between A and B. And so depending on which kind of controller profile you have, you will need to switch it accordingly. I found that with my unit, the left one was already switched to A, but the right one was switched to B. So you definitely want to check this and make sure that they are matching what your Steam Deck is actually going to require. Anyway, once you've done that, we're ready to actually get into the Steam Deck. We have 8 screws we have to remove altogether. We have 4 larger screws on the outside and then 4 smaller ones here on the inside. And these all require a Phillips head screwdriver. And there's no special trick to this at all, you literally just need to remove them. I've been using an electric screwdriver recently, and I'll leave this one linked down below in case you're interested. And as you remove these screws, make sure you keep them separated because they are different lengths depending on the inner and outer screws. Next, before we actually remove the case, make sure that you remove any SD card that you have installed. The last thing I'd want you to do is snap one of these really nice 1TB cards that I may have sold you through an affiliate link. Now, according to iFixit, all you have to do is take one of these guitar picks and slide it near the center of the console on the right or left side. But I found there's not a lot of room right here to really wedge it in. And so instead, I've had the most luck actually starting up here on the top right, like by the actual shoulder button. This will give me just enough leverage to be able to get it in between the crack and then slide it down to undo the clips that are holding it together. This is going to take a couple minutes, especially if you're like me and you haven't opened this thing before, even after about 18 months of use. And so I've got all this sort of grime and dead skin or whatever that's actually stuck in my Steam Deck. And so this did take me quite a while to actually get it undone. And these clips are very small and strong. And so just keep at it. Over time, you will be able to loosen them up and then unclip them. And once you have one of the sides done, you should be able to go through the bottom and undo all of those. They're a lot easier than on the side. And then finally, just go ahead and work your way around to the next side. As far as I can tell, there are not any clips on the top, so you really just have to do those 3 sides altogether. And once you're done, you should be able to just pull the back cover right on out. It's not attached to anything. And so here we are, the actual inside of the Steam Deck. This is my very first time seeing it. It's a little bit intimidating. Now we're going to do this installation right, which means we need to unlatch the battery just in case something happens. And to do that, we have to remove this heatsink here on the left side. And there's only 3 screws holding this on. However, one of them is hidden behind this foil tape right here. So you can use something like tweezers, or honestly, I just use my finger to pull this loose. I would recommend being as careful as possible and also leave room so that you can actually just lay it back on when you're done. So you definitely don't want to pull this all the way off. Either way, once that's exposed, we can go ahead and start unscrewing the rest. In addition to the one below the foil tape, there will be one on top and one on the bottom, both on the left side. From there, you can pull that heatsink loose and set it to the side. And now we've uncovered a treasure trove of different things we can mess with. Number one, here is the solid state drive. So if you ever want to swap this out for a larger capacity, this is where you're going to do it right here. However, if you are going to do that, I would recommend before anything else to remove this battery latch right here. I would recommend pulling on the tab and then pushing on the opposite side to just unlatch it right here. And that's it, we are now good to go. We're not going to blow up our device as we start working on it. So let's start with the right analog stick, which is going to be on the left right here. This also has a pull tab, but has a lock switch. So you need to undo the lock switch and then pull that tab. And altogether, this is pretty easy to do. After that, we will unscrew the 3 screws we have here on the right board. This again is going to be with a Phillips head screwdriver. And getting this out is super easy. You just pull it straight out, the cap and everything will come with it. And really between the two, they look almost identical other than the branding. So I think that Gulikit did a pretty good job right here mimicking those OEM sticks. Either way, the installation process is just the reverse of what we've already done. So let's flip it over and actually install it, and then we'll secure it in place with those 3 screws. From there, we're going to insert the ribbon cable. Again, make sure that it's unlatched and then push it in and then lock it into place. This one might take a little bit of finessing, but because you have that tab, it's actually still a pretty easy process. And of course, we're going to have to do the exact same thing with the other side. Same process here, we will unscrew and remove the ribbon cable. Then we can pull out the entire board, and one thing I noticed is that it's actually labeled with the letter A. And I'm not sure if this is because of that A and B controller profile, so don't take my word for it, but it just so happens that mine were A and they are labeled as A. Either way, let's go ahead and install this other one. Exact same process here. We're going to screw it in and then attach that ribbon cable. And just like that, we are now done with the installation. So let's go ahead and reattach that battery cable. Then we're going to add our heatsink and those 3 screws to hold it into place. And then we can also reapply that foil tape. And then while we're at it, let's go ahead and wipe off some of these smudges that we've done in the process. From there, you can say goodbye to the inside of your Steam Deck, and we'll take the back cover and put it on and then snap it all into place. And this is a very satisfying part of the process to be able to have it all snap like this. After that, let's go ahead and put those screws back in. I'm going to do these smaller inner ones first and then the outer screws next. I don't think the process actually matters on a device like this, but it's always nice to be consistent. After that, we will add our coveted SD card back inside, and then we'll boot it right back up, and yeah, everything seems to be working okay. However, the joysticks themselves still need to be calibrated, so let's do that next. And to do that, we need to get into the desktop mode. So we'll press the Steam button here, go down to power, and then select switch to desktop. Now this by far is the trickiest part of this entire setup, and really it's honestly pretty easy too. Once we're in desktop mode, we will navigate to that Steam Deck logo on the bottom left, and in the search box here, we're going to type in the word console starting with the letter K. To bring up the keyboard, you would press Steam and the X button at the same time. You can either just tap this out on the touchscreen, or you can use the touchpad to navigate through. Once you have this terminal window open, we're going to type in one command. And this is the command we're going to type in, thumbstick_cal for calibration. Once you have that typed in, you can press enter on the keyboard or tap the R2 button on your device. This is going to shut down Steam and then give you a couple commands within that same console window. And the first thing it says is don't press any of the sticks at all, and then press the A button on the device. After you follow those really complicated instructions, we have one more thing to do. And that is that we have to rotate these thumbsticks at 360 degrees twice. So really just 2 full circles on each joystick. And it really doesn't matter which direction you go in. Once you've done that, you're going to press that A button again, and it's going to validate your calibration and then say that, yeah, everything's good to go. Now we can close out of our console window and then boot right back into gaming mode. So to save you the process of watching me load up a bunch of things, I'm just going to go directly to the game footage. And here we are playing BioShock Infinite. And at least here, just trying out the thumbsticks, yeah, it feels exactly the same as it did before. And like I mentioned in the intro, I don't really think this is a necessary mod. It's really going to come down to whether or not you already have stick drift on your machine. And in truth, I haven't heard of anybody actually getting stick drift with their Steam Deck. And so at this point, it basically becomes a preventative measure. If you're worried about stick drift, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Or maybe you love your Steam Deck so much that you want to make sure it has the nicest things. And honestly, for $30 and a very easy installation process, yeah, I can totally get that. Long story short, when it comes to just using these sticks, I personally cannot tell a difference between the two. And same exact experience when I'm actually in gameplay like in a gunfight. Now the truth is, when it comes to FPS games, I'm not one of those people that is super sensitive to dead zones. But all the same, yeah, these sticks feel very good, just like the originals. And one last thing I wanted to test right here is to make sure that the gyro functionality still works with the haptic feedback on the top of the caps. And yes, sure enough, here with the right analog stick, I'm able to enable the gyro in the settings, and then when I push my thumb down, yeah, it's working. So I think mission accomplished right here with the Steam Deck sticks, and I think that's really going to be about the end of this video here. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Are you getting some of these Hall sensor sticks for your Steam Deck, or are you going to wait until you actually need them? And honestly, at that $30 price point, it makes sense either way. You know, you could either wait, or if you just want to do it ahead of time, you can totally do that as well. Anyway, as always, thank you for watching, and be sure to like and subscribe if you found this helpful, and we will see you next time. Happy gaming.